too much.
If you do take on an intern, what do you look for?
I look for somebody who's just pretty good backbone, has no attitude, no sort of, just wants to just give it a go and see, has an understanding that sometimes it isn't just, fashion isn't fluffy, you know, it isn't what you see in a magazine is very different from what's actually going on backstage. I think I'm extremely fair because I've heard some horrific stories, and you know, I always say that whoever comes in, they'll never clean the toilets and they'll never do the washing up. That's my job. But I like people that just want to have a go, who are extremely polite and respect each other regardless of who you are. And that's really what I look for. And somebody who's just, you know, determined to do well and to continue in, you know, the field of fashion, because they understand that, unfortunately, they're one of many now. So.
And what sort of skills do you look for?
Practical, just, you know, being able to, good timekeeping, takes a little bit of respect and time with themselves, you know, and the way they conduct themselves, because I think that's extremely important. If they look after themselves, they're going to look after the work that they're doing. And just being able, good social skills, being able to express if there's an issue, to not feel, not so much a shrinking violet, but not feel, you know, that they can't actually say, oh, there's an issue here, Lou, how are we going to deal with it? So somebody who's got a bit of backbone, really. That's what I look for. Often
when students graduate and then they do get an internship, they may expect to go in and be designing. I mean, is that the reality?
Yeah, you're right, because we do get a lot of CVs through. It's really difficult. I have a close friend, actually, who graduated from the MA at St Martin's and took up a role at Marnie, and he just draped a whole year, didn't actually put pen to paper, he just draped, and finally has moved up to now being assistant designer. So it takes a long time. I think, yeah, the reality is very different.
Yeah. So I mean, the likelihood of a graduate going in and physically designing a product from the outset is minimal.
It's very minimal. But to be honest with you, I think this is why, sometimes I mentioned that I choose not to have probably more than one or two a season, and we have, say, one in 3 days a week and then one in 2 days of the week, because that way we can see their skill set. And if an opportunity was to come through the door that we needed to take somebody on, that's when you can remember, oh, that kid was really good. Let's offer them that opportunity. If you have an army full of kids, how can you make that, you know, you can't make that decision. And then, you know, I have somebody at the moment who is a graduate from St Martin's in knitwear, and obviously knitwear is one of the things that we do quite well. And I'm quite she's got a great portfolio, and I'm quite happy to have her coming in and helping me develop. But by no means I want her to sit there and churn out designs for me, because I don't think that's quite right, really. So,
tell us a bit about the knitwear, because I know I mean, a lot of it is made in England.
Yes,
Scotland.
It is. It's all made in the UK. I mean, I always kind of, originally folk used to kind of touch on the knitwear and sort of say, oh, Lou, you know, Dalton, knitwear designer. And I was like, well, no, actually, I'm not a knitwear designer at all. I just have a good understanding of knit and what I like. And it's about the taste level, actually, is, I think, it's more to do with it. And yeah, I started working, I used to work for a Japanese company called United Arrows. And I was asked to produce a range of knitwear for them in Shetland and in Scotland. And it was great, actually. They did all the groundwork. They found all these amazing factories, and I just had to go and visit them and say, oh, we want that, we want that. And it was fantastic. So I built up this portfolio of certain factories and built up a great relationship with them, so that when I did start Lou Dalton, I was able to tap into that resource. And basically that's what I do. And then I work with a lady in the south of England who is phenomenal, amazing. And because I can go to her, and we have these days where I just go and I'll find a print or something that will remind me of a jacquard knit. And I'll have all these yarns, and I kind of say, that's what I'm looking for. Barbara, kind of, and then she'll do all these swatches. So we do this design development because I can't physically knit. So that's the kind of, that's how I work.
I just want to go back to pricing, or just talk a little bit about pricing, because obviously making a pattern is only the start.
Yeah.
How important is it to kind of to get the pricing structure right? Because you know, you get a product into store, whether it's a piece of knitwear or a jacket, and it costs, I don't know, £200 at retail, £400. I mean, how important is it from the outset to set a pricing structure and then work towards that? How do you do that?
It's interesting because we had to do a lot of research into the pricing of the Lou Dalton product, if you like, because we kind of had to see who we thought our competitors were and where we sat within the market, because you know, I have the fellow designers that of the same level that, you know, their price tag was almost double of what we were charging. And I found it quite bizarre, really, because I didn't feel that we were of that level where we could warrant such a price. So I found, you know, we did a lot of groundwork and a lot of research into where we sat within the market. And obviously the normal markup from whatever you produce your garment at, I think most of the department stores like Liberty, Matches, Selfridges is 2.75. So, you know, we would then like take the 2.75 off, say, that shirt from Martin Margiela, and we could see what the cost price was, or the wholesale price was. And obviously, I work with factories where, obviously, the minute they produce a sample, in one particular factory that makes the outer, well, the tailoring, the soft tailoring and the trousers and so forth, they do the grading, they're able to give me the costing. So we're able to literally take it to pieces, like bit by bit, to be able to work out how much something's going to cost. And because it is important, if we overprice something, then you know, you're turning clients away in a way, because they don't want to buy into it. They don't understand how you can, you know, we're not an advertising brand. And then a client in the north of England can't understand how, you know, they just can't associate themselves with that. So the pricing architecture is extremely important. And I also do talk to the stores, especially Liberty, when they decided to take the collection, because it's quite important, really, to get the feedback from them, because, you know, sometimes we'll take less margin on T-shirts or jersey, because we can then make sure that it balances out accordingly across the tailoring. But yeah, it's very important.
I want to move kind of left of field a bit and talk a little bit about technology. So you have a website?
Yes.
Ish?
Yes.
How important do you think that is going to become to your business?
I think quite extremely important. In fact, we are in the process of redesigning that at the moment, and one of the things that we are pushing is for it to be an e-store as well. I think, yeah, it's an integral part of our growth, for sure.
And then, so you'll have an e-store, and then are you going to kind of stream, you know, you're showing at London Fashion Week in, what, 2 weeks' time?
Yeah.
I mean, is the intention to kind of stream the fashion shows, to have all the kind of portfolios and press and everything on there,
Yeah.
as well as an e-store?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure about the live streaming at the moment, but we will obviously, it will be, all the press to date would be available, likewise, or, you know, historical shows and so forth, so there'll be a back catalogue for folk to be able to tap into, to be able to see what we do. It's an interesting thing, because the e-store thing is kind of, I don't want to take away from the consumer, the buyer or the consumer that already goes to Liberty. I don't want, so it's very interesting how the product, or whatever the product may end up being, on the Lou Dalton website, and how that might be slightly different from what, say, Liberty buy into, because I think I don't want Liberty to start, you know, upsetting that relationship. So it's a lot to think about at the moment, but I do think it's an important part of what we're doing.
But I guess a lot of designer labels have started to introduce this whole notion of bespoke or limited editions or custom made. Is that kind of a route that you?
Yeah, it's interesting actually, because there's 2 stores that we don't sell to in London, which we would like to. One in particular, I don't think we're quite, the collection as it is to date is not particularly right for them, but their proposal to us was to to do a special, to do something that was exclusive to them, a t-shirt line or something or other. And it's really important because obviously it's one way that we can start to do, whether it be a diffusion line or an accessory line that's exclusive for that store, that doesn't allow, I don't have to compromise what the Lou Dalton aesthetic is, really.
Tell us a bit about blogs and Twitter, and I mean, do you use social media at all? Or?
Yeah, but I'm absolutely useless at it. And recently, my partner actually set me up with this Twitter account, and I really had no idea how to use it, and I still don't. And I think we've got like 13 followers or something, and I'm really useless. And I do use the Facebook, but it's my personal page, and I know folk have said that I need to kind of, I mean, I love going on and looking at everybody else's pages and doing all of that, but yeah, I'm pretty useless, which I know is really not the right answer. And I know that I need to actually up my game there a little.
Yeah, well,
yes.
I suppose the question is, I mean, how important do you think it is?
I think it is important because, you know, there's a lot of kids that, and not just, and adults that, you know, there's a lot of bloggers out there. And we get a lot of coverage through a lot of blogs, actually. A lot of our support and the backstage footage and it's so instant. It's so instant, and that's what's great. So it reaches so many people, and it's so, you know, so fast. So yeah, I think it's something I've got to.
So in preparation for Fashion Week.
Absolutely. I mean, luckily, I mean, it's a godsend. I have the support of a great PR, and they're very quick at kind of, come on, Lou, you've got to do this, you've got to do that, answer a question, and then they'll fire it out to the relevant blogger, and then they will quickly put it up. So I'm not completely useless, but I would rather just be on the sewing machine or doing the more practical things, I suppose.
Okay, so Fashion Week's coming up, as we've discussed. Tell us a little bit about the preparation. You know, how do you prepare for showing at London Fashion Week? You know, what is, you know, what do you do?
Well, it's an interesting thing actually, because that's, you know, it sounds all so glamorous, doesn't it? But the core of what we do is to get clothes on people's backs, to get that chap in the street to buy what we do. And that whole process behind that is like to produce a collection for wholesale that a store will come and buy. So we've just completed that. And obviously the collection that's ready for wholesale isn't quite ready for Fashion Week, because there are a few bells and whistles that you want to add to draw press, you know, to get a little bit of attention. And obviously when I wholesale the collection, I don't produce 21 pairs of trousers, you know, for wholesaling. I produce possibly 8. So we have to, you know, produce additional pieces. So that's the first thing we do. A collection comes back from Paris. I sit down, I look at, and my stylist, whilst I've been away, with the wholesaling collection and the database from that, has started to build looks. Because obviously the concept hasn't changed. We know what we're going out with. We just haven't worked out exactly the order and, you know, the finishing touches. And then they'll start considering boys who we're going to have, which, you know, is quite important as well, because, you know, getting that whole aesthetic across within, 5 minutes, it's really quite tough. So if you have the wrong chap or the wrong shoe, it can make a massive difference. But we're, you know, I'm given a lot of support. The British Fashion Council have been extremely supportive, and so have Topman. So initially, when I first started, it was quite daunting. Now it just feels like, you know, I'll just bring it on, we'll have a go, and we'll just do it.
How different